Now, what we see in the past is that we have elections where we used to have elections where materials will not get the polling unit on time. And some of the polling units, even at past 1 p.m., will not have started voting. And there are time stipulations for these elections and all that. But INEC has come to give a guideline saying that the voting will continue. It will be a pattern of the continuous accreditation and voting system, where you have the people accredited and go and vote, not that pattern of people being accredited between a certain period of time and coming later, going home and coming later to vote. So it's going to be a continuous process. We have also said that the process will comprise of the authentication and verification of voters using the BVAS, that is the biometric accreditation system, which of course has to do with the machines you are talking about, using the fingerprints and all that, reading the fingerprints and all that. Now, let's look at the timing for this election. For instance, if you have local governments that are quite volatile, and you have local governments that have security issues, you have local governments that have road problems, the infrastructure in the state, outside the state capital, these issues of dilapidated roads and all that. Now, how will the Independent National Electoral Commission convey these materials to some of these interiors within the hours of 8:30 a.m. and get it closed before 2 p.m. where voting 2:30 p.m. where voting is expected to have ended. Now, these are the issues that we are asking, and we are calling on the Independent National Electoral Commission. We're telling them to do the needful to ensure that these people, the people of the Ekiti state, decide to become the next governor of this state, that there should be no bias, there should be no hiccup along the way, that they should go ahead and do everything possible to ensure that the election commences at the right time and closes at the right time.
Okay, Paul, you talked, Igboje, you said earlier, that the PVC collection has been very good. Do you know if there's still, INEC is still permitting any last-minute collection of PVCs?
Yes, as of yesterday, the offices of the Independent National Electoral Commission was packed full by prospective electorate, trying to see if they can get their PVC. Just yesterday evening, there was this rush for it and all that. But we don't know how it's going to go this morning because we are approaching some of these INEC offices to see what is happening right now on the ground, to see if they are going to close if they are going to lock up and now focus on the election proper.
Okay, well, very well said there. Thank you so much for joining us right here, and thank you for staying right there in the Ekiti State, and please be safe. Thank you for Igboje Queria.
Thank you, Margaret. You're welcome.
All right, that was Igboje Queria, our senior correspondent from Ekiti State, reporting live on the happenings in Ekiti State in relation to the elections. Samson, quickly, I like the fact that he mentioned you see women leading. I'm an advocate for that, of course, but that's a good one. And but the numbers, the margin is large. You could see from that's a very large margin. And I'm wondering, those registered voters, this amount of registered voters and amount of people collecting their PVCs.
It said about 980,000 to 8,000.
That's a large
again,
number.
you should understand that for the 980,000 plus accredited voters, that those who probably had their PVCs before, so probably the number of those who just applied for PVCs in terms of those who are eligible, your young ones who are just 18 or was clocked 18 over the last 2-3 years, just are those numbers that he reeled out. Again, I want to presume that of the 8,000 that I've collected, or 8,000 plus that I've collected, that it represents in larger a margin in terms of those who applied newly for the PVCs. I mean, if you have your PVC before, there's really no need for you to apply for another one, except you misplaced it and all of that. So let's just hope that the people are really able to come out, to have a say in how the future of Ekiti State is decided over the next 4 years. But I think INEC has done a very good job thus far, and from the reports we're gathering as well, the police have, you know, their hands full, and they're also ready, you know, to ensure that law and order is, you know, prevalent in the states during this process.
And there's a level of peace and calm, because with a statement from the police head where he mentioned that the police will do all it can to make sure that the election goes free and fair, there's law and order maintained, and also want the talks or possible talks that would probably take money to disrupt the elections, warn them of the consequences surrounding that action, and warning parents also, and urging the people to come out, because we see that sometimes before elections you see a lot of policemen, and then it could instill fear in the people. But now he has assured the people of Ekiti State that those policemen are there. If you cooperate with them, they are there to make sure the elections are free and fair, and also to make sure you are safe while you're voting. So there's really no need to be scared about anything.
There's no need to be scared, really. The people just have to go out there.
But then looking at how elections have panned out in our country,
I understand.
In past years, you wouldn't force them for being scared, actually.
Definitely. But again, from, you know, all indications, this is different from 2018 or 2014, especially 2014, when, you know, Ayodele Fayose came on board for a second time. So I hope that the people come out to vote as well. My only concern is, you know, the reports he gave regarding the APC and the court and all of that. If the spokesman is saying they've resolved all internal issues and the court order is not vacated, it still spells doom for them. And the reason is the INEC, that's, you know, the electoral body, will have to respect a court order. And if the court, you understand, if the court is saying this candidate is not eligible to, you know, stand in this election, definitely INEC would have to go with the court. Now, again, the APC have said, okay, they've, you know, sorted that out. It's an internal issues and it's been resolved. I really hope that that court order has been vacated. If not, we know what the ripple effect will be. In 2019, you had by APC winning Bayelsa David Lyon. Unfortunately, there was a court case, and then there were issues of, you know, discrepancies in about 6 different certificates of, you know, his running mates, and that's why he lost the mandate, not because Doye Diri won. In fact, the PDP did not contest that election result. They didn't take it to the appeal or something or anything, not even the tribunal, because it was a hands-on defeat. But the fact that there were discrepancies in 6 different certificates, I mean different names on the certificates that, you know, 6 different names rather on different certificates that his running mate, that David Lyon's running mate presented. That's what just called it. And that court case had been instigated even before, you know, the election. So all of these things have to be put into perspectives. I really hope that at the end of the day, Ekiti people have a say in how they decide their future and not the courts. Remember that one of the reasons the majority of Imo State's indigents are not so, you know, peculiar or comfortable with the Uzodinma, you know, government is that
they prefer someone else.
They preferred someone else, and 2, they feel like it was imposed on them by the courts, and they had no choice.
The court gave them, they preferred someone else, the court gave them someone else.
So the people want to have a say by casting their votes, and that's what should count. So I really hope that this is not a case of maybe Bayelsa or Imo State, that truly the results of this election will be determined by the people and not the law courts.
Well, I'm particularly interested in how other parties that are not 2 major parties in Nigeria are faring. I was going to ask a question, but somehow it skipped my memory, and then when the call ended, I remembered it. But then we have Ekiti has a Labour Party candidate.
There's SDP.
Well, SDP, but the major parties are the PDP and ABC. So I just hope those other parties are not being suppressed, hopefully, because it's politics. You do not have to be suppressed to start with.
Well, you know, again, when you talk about suppression within, you know, the political sphere, you have to look at it really. It's not like people are being, you know, harassed not to come out to vote and all.
For lack of better words.
No, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that on a larger scale, it's all about the structure, and that's why people go for the dominant parties, because they have the following, they have the numbers from the grassroots.
But what if they don't have better candidates? What if other parties have better candidates?
That's the issue. You know, as much as the candidate is very important, the party as well is important. You know, it's a platform, and the platform has to be strong enough to be able to aid, you know, the candidate to get to that position. For example, you take a state like Lagos State. If I come up with a party like, you know, SDP, it's not so popular in Lagos. You have your APC and PDP. So if you run on a party that is not so prominent, your chances of winning are slim compared to when you run on a party that seemingly has a stronger base and a stronger, you know, structure. All of these things is part of the political, you know, game itself. So for the smaller parties or the, you know, minor parties in the they'll try their best, and let's see if the people, you know, would decide to go their way. That's not to dispute the fact that on one or two occasions you really get to see within an election that people go for a minor party, probably because of the candidate.
The person,
I mean,
yeah.
Ifeanyi Ubah won the senatorial seat and he ran on Young People's Party, YPP. That was Young People's Progressive Party. You know, that was a party that was seemingly non-existent about 4 or 5 years before he ran. So, again, all of these things are into perspectives. For a governorship election, it's really difficult for a minor party to come in, except if the candidate is very, very strong and popular, and you know the minor party relatively has a base or forms an alliance.
I just hope that Ekiti election goes free and fair as the speculations with the report from the INEC and the police with our correspondents there. Well. Everything seems to be going well, but then somehow we don't want to miss the fact that they could be last minute, you know, I don't use the word, but then it happens.
My only concern is I don't want a situation where we have an inconclusive election and then there has to be a runoff.
Or runoff,
you know,
right.
I don't want that.
And have to go through all the process again.
I don't want that. More often than not, with inconclusive elections, so many things, you know, happen behind the scene, and the runoff is similarly inconsequential right there in that sense. So I really hope that, you know, it's just this, and this determines the people's choice, really. All
right, thank you, something. And well, for the Ekiti people, a quick word for you. Please, the ball is in your court right now. How the 8 years of your life would go, it's right there in your hands. Please do well to go out, cast your vote, protect your vote, and do not be a tool that, well, I would have loved to say the enemy would use, but then sometimes we are enemies to ourselves. Do not be a tool for political thuggery. Do not be a tool. Your future is in your hands. Right now, you can determine or define how you want Ekiti State to be. It all starts with you. Well, that's it on the segment. We'll take a short break now. It's Friday. Do not forget all of those things we are doing. Politics are important, you know, but it's still Friday, and we have a bit of entertainment for you for your viewing pleasure. We'll be right back.